Good evening and welcome. Welcome to my live stream. You've found me at Fight CPS and Stop Taking Our Children. I hate the word fight, but we have a government entity in the child protection system. It's found in every county and every state and worldwide. They have somehow taken over our life with our children. Now, I'm here to help you with fighting CPS. I am here for educational purposes to help you get your children back or hang on to your children. Now, you found me on one of the Facebooks. I have 7 Facebook pages and 1 YouTube that tie into this live stream, which I'm using a software application um, called SteamYard, and it has the format of this room. Now, as I say that I'm helping you out for educational purposes, and I cannot give you legal advice because I'm not an attorney or lawyer. But I do have an attorney I work for. His name is Vincent W. Davis. And you can talk to him and hire him at 888-888-6582. And he'll help defend your case with CPS. What has happened is that you've gotten yourself into a very tricky agency that isn't very how can I say, honest. They are very corrupt. You have a 50-50 chance of encountering it. Now, when you want to get legal advice, you just call and you talk to reception. Make sure you tell them that Bob Pace sent you. And when you talk to Mr. Davis, you also want to say the same thing. Now, who is Mr. Davis? He's a full-time attorney, licensed, trained, and educated in the areas of juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. He has fought for over 40 years the child protection system. He's gotten back thousands of children. He is a trial attorney. He also was once a foster kid himself, so he knows about the foster system. Now, his office is in LA County, in Arcadia, the city of Arcadia. And his basic retainer is $5,000. And he's a $500 an hour attorney. Those are approximate fees. Every case is different. Every case can be, depending on how complex or how long the case has been going on, will determine his price. But that gives you a ballpark price. Now, he will go to other states. He will talk to anybody that wants to call him. When he goes to other states, there's additional costs for air transportation, ground transportation, hotel, food, and a license fee for that state. But he will help you. Now, at the bottom of my screen are some of the fees they have that are really expensive to talk to them. If you want a private text reply from Attorney Vincent Davis, it's only $10. If you want a private call from Attorney Vincent Davis, it's $15. If you want to be a guest on his live stream, a 30-minute live stream he does is $25. All you do is use your bank account, your debit card or charge card, and you send it through Apple Pay, Cash Apps, or Zella. All you have to do is one of those threes, and the number you're going to use to pay him will be 310-308-7758. Now that's rolling across the bottom of my screen, so it tells you self-explanatory. He also is a civil rights attorney. If your case is done, you can do lawsuits. He's won millions of dollars. He's not afraid to fight CPS. But if you're going to be involved in CPS, one of my first rules is you get yourself an attorney. Now you may say, wait a minute, I got a court-appointed attorney. Well, a court-appointed attorney is not the same as a real, true attorney involved in CPS. They're not trained in CPS. Their basic background is criminal law. And they're just starting out in law, so they're first-time attorneys trying to get work. But they're hired by CPS, and they'll do very little on your case. So you're at their mercy. But if you must use a court-appointed attorney, you got to make them sure that they perform. Otherwise, replace them. Now, if you want to text me a message, let me adjust the window here. I'll put up on the screen a banner. Make it in the form of a comment or a question about CPS. List your name and where you're from. If you're outside the United States, list your country. People in the United States, you don't have to list the country. And that's all you have to do to text a message or to text a comment there. Now, if you want to be a guest on my live stream, all you have to do is pick one of my 14 shows. Now, I'm on here twice a day, 7 days a week. On the weekends, I'm on at 8 a.m. in the morning, the weekdays at 10 a.m. Then at nighttime, like tonight, I'm on at 7 p.m. every night of the week, 7 days a week. Those times I give you to are Pacific Standard Time on the West Coast. We just sprung ahead. We just fell back because it's now winter time and we're on we're on standard winter time. So we just fell back an hour. But most of you that have phones or computers, the time will adjust. It's the things like maybe the microwave or the stove or a battery operated analog clock won't have that correct time in there. So I want you all to think about being a guest, because being a guest is an easy way. I can take 9 of you at one time, and you all can talk about your case and help one another. Now, once you email me, and my email address is there, is at Bob, it's a B Pace at vincentwdavis.com. You just pick one of my shows. I want to be Bob's Sunday morning show or Bob's Friday night show or Bob's Wednesday morning show. It's morning or night. It's easy. And you want to be on all 14 of them, you can. Now, once you send me an email, then I'll go ahead and contact my show producer, Grace, who will then send you a link. they'll get you on SteamYard. Now, the rules are simple. We respect one another while we're in this room. No politics, no profanity. We also do not use the names of children, social workers, or judges. A lot of respect goes in here and stuff. So I want to help you. So I'm just going over these ground rules kind of quick there. Lastly, I have a number you can call me. It's 626-698-0990. That's my live phone number that you can reach me on my phone. I love to hear from you. I love to hear from you. And I can help you. If you have questions about the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978, or you want to know what a 388 motion is, or a 180 hearing, or a 160 hearing, what is called the reunification plan, the team meetings, what is dependency court, all those proceedings, all those things I can talk to you about. I can help you. All you have to do is ask me while in this room or text me a question or a comment or be, as I say, a guest in here. So it's Sunday night and it's a little after 7 o'clock tonight. And this is now November 2nd. Now, I'm on here twice a day, so 7 days a week. I've been doing this since October of 2023. That's over 2 years and 1 month. We're getting close to one month here. And I've talked to 2,900 people. That's 2,900 people, and they all have something in common, including myself. We all were a victim of a corrupt CPS agency that stole our child, trafficked our child, alienated our child. It's really bad what some of these agencies can do. Fighting CPS is like open heart surgery. You need to have a professional in your side to help you go through this and navigate. It's very complex. Now, being complex, it's hard enough. But also, when they lie, they cheat, they're corrupt, that makes it worse. It's hard enough fighting them. Um, it's sad because your children have been taken from you. You didn't know that you're not supposed to give up your children. No one really knows about the agency. It caught you off guard. It really did. Oh, thank you for the emoji. We already got an emoji there. That was from Margaret King, who's with Kern River County, and she has a CPS case. In fact, Mr. Davis is defending her. It's good to hear from you, Margaret. It's been a while since you've talked at my live stream. Now, I'm glad that we. Oh, there's Margaret. Good evening, Margaret. It's been a while. You have a trial coming up. Can you give me a latest take? I think your legal matter, your criminal matter, was taken care of by Mr. Davis, correct? Now, um, you're getting your girls back. That is great news. It does take time. It takes a lot of time. And it takes a lot of money too. Would you like to call in, Margaret, or text me what the trial's going to be about, or so you can help other people in the room listening? Good evening. You've reached Bob Pace on live stream. Who do I have the pleasure of talking to?
Hello.
Hello. Who do I have the pleasure of talking to?
My name is Lisa.
Yeah, glad to meet you, Lisa. What part of the world are you from?
I am from New Jersey.
Okay. And if you can turn myself in the background down a little bit so I don't conflict with myself.
I'm going to do the same.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
going to do the same.
Yeah. Okay, Lisa, what is your, do you have a story to say or do you have a question to ask, Lisa?
I do have a story to say.
Okay, I love to hear it.
And I think, yeah, I think, let me just lower this a bit.
Okay.
But I do think it is, I do think that it will be very helpful in letting other people know about, the system and how it works and really what could eventually happen, what at least happened to us. So it is a bit of a long story, and I don't know if you want to hear it this evening, or if you'd like to hear it. If you'd like to schedule me to tell it.
No, this is fine. This is fine. Right. It's like it's first come, first serve. And the best thing to do is that you start from the beginning. Um, how many children does this involve?
Just one.
One child. And is the child young or older?
Well, now he's 16 years of age.
Okay.
He is with us. That's the beauty of the story. He is finally finally back with his parents.
Okay.
He is severely developmentally delayed. He has severe autism.
He's a special needs child. He's a special needs child.
Yes, he is. He was, he's always been very protected by us because of that. We have two older children that had no involvement whatsoever. And more importantly, and probably most ironically, was that for a very long period, I'm a social worker myself.
Okay.
I am licensed, and I'm actively working, to this day. But for, I'd say, 10 years of time, and this would be going back about 15 years, for about a decade of time, I actually worked adamantly against them, we call it something different here. We call it DCP&P.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Working for a program called Family Preservation that kept families together rather than pulling them apart. So I'm not sure in our story if someone, remembered me from, having a long period of time in the field and just decided to sort of, I don't know, one day, an allegation came up, and after that it was just one after the other, to the point where, we ended up in we had a lot of difficult times with them and hired, very expensive attorneys, and were litigated several times, to the point, and, it got very costly. We eventually, we just seemed to be getting the same sort of referral, based on the fact that our son wasn't normal. If he didn't fit the bill, what they were looking for in regards to normal.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, people would also, witness our son and feel that he also didn't fit that look. Several autistic kids have problems with clothing sometimes, or wandering, or attempting to elope. And no matter how fast we were right behind him, no matter what we did, no matter how secure we made our homes, someone would find out that he did something, whether it was he, tried to maybe wander over to the next door neighbor's house and put his foot in a pool, and that would constitute a referral, or just all sorts of little things, sort of like that. When he started having seizures very early on.
Okay.
We didn't even know were seizures. They were, very minimal, and the school called it in before we even had a name for what was going on with him. They were just little stop and stares. We later figured out what they were. But point being was, it was just one referral after the other, because he really wasn't like everyone else. And we obtained a lot of knowledge about the organization, and were able to quickly figure out that the more severe his needs were, the more money they made. Group homes in particular, if they could get him in a group home, they could make lots of money on him.
Oh, they get additional.
And it was terrifying.
Yeah, I know. They get not only the $20,000 a month for the child when they're in foster care, they get another $10,000 a month if they're special need. That's $35,000 a month they're getting for that child.
Well, I had no belief in that being a social worker. I just couldn't wrap my mind around that. My husband, being an electrician, he was thoroughly convinced that they were after him for that money. And then when push came to shove, one day, for no good reason, we got a knock on our door, and it wasn't them, but it was a teacher or a former, an assistant of school, one of the assistants that took care of him in school. and they just made an allegation that, was the furthest thing from any type of truth that had ever occurred in our home. But basically reported that he had walked in and seen me just using a very serious drug in front of my son. And luckily and fortunately for me, there were cameras on every window and every door surrounding this property. And I was able to eventually, prove that entire allegation to be false. The sad part was someone did enter my home that was a teacher. And we later found out that the school and DCPP were working hand in hand to get our son removed for money, really just for monetary purposes. Because of the severity of his needs, I guess they could make it good, either save money or make money. The school didn't want to put it out for the appropriate schooling that we were looking for, and apparently the division thought that they could make some money off of him for what I guess they could, where they could put him and such things such as that. It got really terrible at one point. It took us a year to prove them wrong, maybe 14 months. But during that time, my son was in a group home, and he's nonverbal. He's completely nonverbal. And sadly enough, he had black and blue marks on his face. He was definitely, struck by someone. We don't know if it was, we'll never know who did it, but we had several investigational abuse allegations that we had to make against this particular group home. And by the grace of God, a nurse that was working there called us and reported to us that she walked in and saw that he was black and blue and had no idea how it happened, and no one in the group home would share that information with her. And nothing transpired from that either. We did everything we could to get him out of there, and nothing happened. It was by the grace of God at the tail end of this that we became very close with a CASA worker that came in. At this point, we thought we were losing him for good. And the CASA worker, was probably 85 years old. He was a retired worker, but had an amazing experience in a number of fields. He was a former CIA, FBI, private investigator. I think he caught on very quickly to what was going on here and made an alliance with us and an alliance with our child. And it was him who advocated for him to get out of that group immediately and to be placed into a really good school with a residential component. And from there, we went into court for our very last hearing, and we thought we were going to lose him. And instead, he was returned to us. Surprisingly, just returned to us. We had no heads up. We had no one had told us he was coming home. We had to have two separate attorneys fighting this case because my husband and I, being married, we are not allowed to have the same attorney. We no longer chose to pay for attorneys because public defenders were more intelligent and well-versed and had a small knowledge of how it went in litigation. So we chose to, if possible, routine, public defenders and pool attorneys, because they were the only ones that had the knowledge of how it really went in the courtroom. Even they didn't have any help, or of no help to us. And this CASA worker pretty much saved my son's life and recommended that he be returned. And he was 3 months ago, and everything was just given right back to us. And I just wanted to tell you that success story because probably the scariest moment of our life, but it was the best thing to ever happen because I don't think they'd ever bother us again.
Well,
Um,
how did it start? I mean, how did it
yeah,
start?
no.
Yeah, how did it start? Was there a knock at the door, or did you get a phone call or a letter?
In the very beginning
Yeah,
of this nightmare,
yeah.
in the very beginning of this nightmare, my son's 16 years old.
At the time he was
There were
investigated, he was
several knocks,
16.
several knocks. There were several knocks at the door from 8 years old on, because of the fact that he started laundering and trying to do things that normal kids don't do. Maybe he'd run out of the house without clothes on for a quick minute,
Right.
and because neighbors aren't used to seeing things like that, calls were made, and we would fight them, and we would fight pretty hard, and we would win. And then things got worse. As he got older, it was every sort of thing. Then he started having seizures, but they were stop and stares, which are very, very, very minor in the beginning. You don't even know what they are. The school caught one and called it into them saying that we were being neglectful and we didn't even know what was really going on or, how to get a medical treatment for it. We didn't know what it was.
Well, wait a second. Did they come to your house first, or did they go to the school first?
They went to the school. We had neighbors. Whether it was him, running outside for a quick minute. Sometimes it was a neighbor, and I believe it was the school first.
Right, but then how were you approached by a social worker? How were you approached by a social worker? Did they come out with the police, or how did it start?
No, and this, me being a social worker, when they first knocked at the door, I firmly believed I'd let them in and tell them my story, and they'd believe it, and I tell them exactly what happened, and they'd go away because he
They
wasn't like other children,
they don't do that.
and
That's
that's
the
not what
sad
happened.
part. Is
No,
that I tell everybody that's listening right now, is that you do not open your door to strangers. We as parents teach our kids,
it's right.
don't talk to strangers. If you're a social worker and this new social worker, you don't know them. You don't know them at all. Because what they'll do is they'll trick
That's
you.
correct.
They'll trick you. You don't actually even talk to them. What you do is you encountered a social worker, if you're outside, let's say, and you're outside in your yard and a social worker comes up to your gate and gets your attention, the first thing you should, you can be nice to them, say hello. And if they say that we wanted to talk to you, ask them, is this regarding a legal matter? And if they say yes, it's regarding a legal matter, then you say, I cannot talk to you further until I have my attorney present. And we can set up a time when I get my attorney. They don't want to hear that. They want to take advantage of you, walk into your house. I tell people don't open the door to any knocks that you don't know of. If you can make special arrangements with your family and friends about what knocks or what rings that lets people in there, or they can call ahead or something like that. But whatever you do, don't answer the door. Not only because it may be a social worker there that wants to take your children, it could be a nervous policeman, like say checking on domestic violence and then shoots you dead at the door. I've had 3 or 4 cases lately. The latest case is gone to trial. The guy has been found guilty of second-degree murder, but he shot a black lady in the face because she was washing dishes, and she had some other issues with her, but he decided to take the matter in his own hand and kill her instantly. So I tell people,
That's
if
correct.
if you are ever going to encounter a social worker, if they come out with police. You see, when they come out with the police, it's very intimidating. So, what the police are supposed to do, they're supposed to protect the social worker. They're there to protect the social
That's
worker, not to enforce things, not to, they don't know. They're not trained in CPS. They don't know how CPS operates. They're not social workers. But anyway, that's the mistake a lot of people do. So you just very nicely, if you're outside, find out if it's regarding a legal matter. If it is, then you tell them that you can't talk until you have your attorney present. Because by law, you're entitled to have an attorney present in all aspects of your legal matter, through your arraignment, through your arrest, or whatever the case would be. You're entitled to it by law. And so,
Right.
um, you don't want to really talk to them and stuff like that. So, did they eventually come knocking at your door and you let them in? Is that what you did?
I did. I
Yeah.
did. Against my husband's, against my husband's recommendation. My husband was at work, and
Yeah.
it got, it got so bad that after, I don't know, a couple of times of them coming, and then I'm not just talking about like, one referral. I'm talking about years of referrals because our son was different.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we had
Yes.
two older boys, and we would have them trained as well that it doesn't matter if they show up with police. You are not to open the door at any given time for any given reason. And that worked for a really long time. As a matter of fact, they would litigate just about every time at this point because, we had an extensive history at this point, whether it was our son, being diagnosed with a legitimate wandering disorder and us doing everything in our power to always being a step right behind him. But, to go to the next door neighbor's house and to want to test or put his toe in the pool would lead to another referral. It was just, people see Davis coming to your house or DCP and he's showing up and they start forming opinions of you. And, while I do think a lot of people are nice, there's a lot of people that are not so nice. And they start forming opinions and they want normal and they don't see a normal child. They see a child who has a severe form of autism who is beginning to wander and, has no insight on, being safe. And he sees parents, chasing him all the time. And when you see chaos like that, it's very quick to pick up the phone and to make a judgment call. So if I've learned anything from all of this, I've learned that when something like this occurs, we have so many more rights than we realize we do. People still don't understand this court process. I don't think they understand the court process. But not speaking to them is better than saying anything to them. Thinking that you're going to just tell your story and explain what you did, being a good parent, it gets twisted. Words always get twisted. Your story gets twisted. It can be misinterpreted. It's supposed to be misinterpreted. These people are not trying to help children. They don't have degrees in social work or psychology. They come from all different aspects of it. Most of them, to be honest with you, I've been in this field for 20 years, they've never been able to find their niche in maybe psychology or social work or criminology. And they come to this job because it's, a decent salary with decent benefits. With no knowledge of what they may have to do within a couple of months. Taking children can really, be a game changer for someone.
So when they came in, to talk to him, were the police with the social workers when they came into your home the first time?
It was the first time we played by the rules, and we just had a terrible social worker.
Go on.
Not the first time. No, not the first time. We had a very new DCP&P worker who came in, and she was very rigid, and she wanted to understand why we had swings in our house for our son being autistic and indoor trampolines, and maybe turned it into was this some sort of sexual, I don't know, do we have sex chairs because, my husband and I, when we had toys in our house to keep our son occupied, and these are the things that he gravitated towards doing as a child, as a small child.
Yes,
He'd
yes,
do a
ma'am.
lot of things outside because he'd wander. So they made lots of they made us feel terrible all the time. We got out of that one. There were a few of we would do whatever they asked. If they wanted us to do parenting classes, we'd do parenting classes. If they wanted us to take drug and alcohol evaluations, we would do that. If they wanted tests, we would take tests. If they wanted psychologicals, we'd take psycho. We did anything and everything we possibly could.
Uh-huh.
And then they couldn't get us that way either. So they never took our son until he was 14 years of age. And that one was based on a horrific allegation, basically stating that that I opened the door to someone and he came in and we engaged in smoking some sort of something that is very dangerous. And I'm not talking about, like marijuana. And luckily, because I had cameras on the house, they saw that no one came in my house other than a teacher of my son and the actual DCP&P worker. And that's when we started realizing that we were being set up.
Yeah, they were.
So we stopped making it easy on them. We stopped giving them what they wanted. We stopped agreeing to doing things for them. And they decided to come in one night with police officers. And again, I think fear took over for me, and I didn't want to not open the door to a police officer. I was very scared to do that. And that's when they removed my son over this particular allegation.
What was the allegation that they were? What was the allegation they were?
That I just told you that I had been that I opened the door to, I guess, a friend and was smoking something very illegal with them in the presence of with this person. I don't know if it was a him or a her, but in the presence of my son. And oddly, that day, the only person or the only time my door, the only people to come through my door was a former teacher of my son's who said he was just in the neighborhood saying hello, and I bought it hook, line, and sinker and let him in to see my son, because my son, I thought he had a good relationship with my son and just really was in the neighborhood and just wanted to see how he was doing. And then about 3 hours later, Davis showed up. So I was, they're the only two people that ever came to my door that day. So, yeah, in the big picture, they were, I don't know if they were taking it for the money or to get out of paying the money for him to go to a special needs school that maybe they didn't want to pay for in the school district. I don't know. I'll never know. But luckily, with these cameras, I was able to prove that no one came to my door to see me smoking anything that day.
Wow.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, at that point, they didn't even really care about that allegation. They just were looking to get him away from us because because he's severely autistic, there's times he just would only want to be in a diaper. And being older, he was still not completely potty trained. And, in other words, we had two older children that, hit their milestones perfectly and just left the house. But he was very different, being severely autistic. So, that would be a problem for them when they showed up. They said, all we could do is keep him in a diaper. That's all he was. We'd be lucky if he keep that on for very long periods of time. They just wanted him. They wanted him institutionalized. And we knew that there'd be nothing worse for him being with his, parents his whole life. We never had any situation marks on his face. We found out that for the 14 months that he was in their care, they put him in a group home, and that group home put him in a school where the school wouldn't even accept him into their program, even though it was considered a special needs school. We have staff that said that they drove him around and took him to the park rather than put him in school. And now we are trying to prove that he had educational neglect and physical neglect under the state's care. So we are trying to pull together a little something to, even the score a bit. But oddly enough, I'm wondering if those things hadn't happened, if he'd be in our care again. Because, like I said, we went to a hearing pretty much at the end of the line. I really thought I'd never see my son again. And at that particular hearing, he was returned to us, and the only excuse they gave us is that maybe they had perhaps misjudged us, and that we were very good parents who had done all the services asked of us, and in fact he had done once he was removed. We refused to do anything else for them because they had tortured us for the last 8 years of our life. And once he was removed, I gave up. I wasn't doing anything ever again. I think at one point I had received 21 drug tests at all Queens. And and I don't think anyone had ever received 21 requests in that short period of the time, all of which were clean, and they were still requesting them. So they were just waiting for us to mess up. That's what the problem was. As far as we were concerned, they were waiting for us to fall.
Well, they're also getting money because they took your child. Now, did they have a warrant to take your child, or they asked for your child and you said yes?
Believe it or not, there was no warrant. I jumped the gun and panicked, and because they had police there, I thought there was nothing I could do, and I watched them take him out of my house.
Right. Yep. That's the sad part is that that's their typical MO. I'm not trying to put down social workers, but of the 2,900 people, including myself, I've heard nothing but the same story about how bad the social workers are, how corrupt they are. They use police as intimidators.
It's one thing to be a social worker.
And you're a social worker, and that is why, right. Yeah, you see, this is really to all my listeners. We have a woman that works as a social worker, and here she is talking about her own people that do lie. They do lie, and I know from firsthand. My social worker lied. We caught her on the stand committing perjury, and then she retaliated, and my CASA was no good. The CASAs we had were listening ears for the social workers. That's why the court appointed service advocates are nothing more than listening ears for CPS. You can't trust them. You're very blessed to run into a CASA worker.
Yeah. Yes, you are so right. And when I saw a CASA worker start working our case, that's when I knew I'm not going to see my son again. This is it. We're at the end of at the end of the line now.
And that is but he turned out to be good.
85 years old, retired, and had more. He just had an amazing work ethic. He had an amazing. Thank God he came out and met us. Thank God he developed a relationship with my son and quickly recognized exactly what was going on. And I don't know if maybe he had a conversation with the judge or something, but we received our son at the next hearing with no knowledge, with everything was transferred right back to us at the very next hearing. And no one told us that was going to happen. We just thought it was just getting worse. Every time we went to court, it was getting worse. So.
I do want to recognize some people that have come into my room right now. I want to say hello. Besides Margaret King from California, we have Aaron from Tennessee. Welcome, Aaron from Tennessee. And Corella from Oxnard, California. Hello, Corella. Um, and she calls me Uncle Bob, but these are my regular people. Margaret King, Corella, and Aaron are coming in the room all the time. And on the phone right now that we have listening right now is um, a mother telling about her son. Um, oh boy. Um, your name again is what again? I'm sorry, I forgot your name already.
Well, for all intents and purposes, you can call me anything you want. I'm so scared
No,
to be found out
I
that
know, I
I did
understand.
go under the name of
Yeah.
Lisa.
Okay, yeah, we have Lisa, but she has to keep her identity because she is a social worker and she is validating my thoughts on how corrupt social workers are. Right now, I've come up about 50% of all child protection systems are corrupt. They will lie, they'll cheat. There is no board of directors or supervisors that are watchdogs. They embezzled funds. Right now, I have a case in Richmond, Kentucky, where a social worker has embezzled $400,000 of $1 million given by the state to the county. You see, the money flows freely. It goes from the federal government in the billions of dollars, and then from the to it goes to the state, and then from the state it goes with millions of dollars to the county. Now it's $1 trillion business that they're so freaking giving money. They also have a thing called the incentive law of 1994 that was signed by President Bill Clinton that basically says that if a child is put into adoption in foster care and is adopted out, they'll pay that CPS entity additional $35,000. So a county likes that because usually with reunification, it takes about a year or more to reunify a family with their child because some of the courses you have to take, like domestic violence, is a 1 year class. It's every week, once a year, 52 classes. So that's why it takes so long. And so that was really wrong that they have that incentive thing in there because they it's so structured with money because they give money to social workers as bonuses and as bribes. They do that.
There was that. I I don't mean to interrupt you, but are you telling me that because, like I said, I am no child protective services worker. I'm just a licensed therapist.
Okay.
So
Okay.
with that being said, are you telling me that in fact, because that is the rumor, and I've always wondered if there was truth to that. So are you telling me that these child protective services workers that call themselves social workers, they actually do receive like a stipend for every child
Oh,
that goes into
my
foster
social
care?
worker used to tell me once a week, look at my new Gucci purse. I got it with my bonus. Or I get jewelry or makeup or my BMW car. I mean, and she didn't even have a high school education, let alone a college degree. And here she is deciding the life of a family.
Well, we were under that impression, but I wasn't sure if that was like across the board.
Well,
I don't I don't want to.
I've been doing this now for over 2 years. I've talked to 2,900 people. I know firsthand because I did try to talk to the director. I tried to talk to the supervisor, the manager, and then finally I had to go to the director. And I can honestly say that the Orange County um, Child Protection Service is corrupt. They're bad news, and
Yes. Yeah.
So
Well,
is the LA
I don't
County.
know one that isn't corrupt. I guess you know
Well, you don't know. You
across
don't know until
across
you
they
try
they
'em.
they
Right. But there
yeah.
are. I had a girl that was a social worker that worked for Maryland, and she said that she had a degree um, in college, a master's in clinical psychiatry. She also said that she had 6 months of training on the job. So she was the first social worker that I ever talked to. She talked on the show for about 40 minutes, and she was from Maryland. But there's cases in Maryland. I told her, I said, I've spoken to people from Maryland that says Maryland's horrible. Be honest with you, there are good
It is.
social workers, and there's good social offices, but they're hard and few, and it's so hard to find them. It's so hard to find them.
Well, on that note, I don't know if maybe I could share one other thing with the audience. But,
Sure, sure.
I'm constantly researching, and I'm constantly like trying to find, any resources out there for people like us that, once you get it's almost like once you get your number pulled, they'll be back, much quicker the second time.
Oh, yes, that's true.
What I've learned along the way is if you can move out, if you still have your children, we have been warned on several occasions that if you get your son back, move out of town, move out of the state, not just the county, the state, because they are more inclined to go back to you time and time again. Once you've been selected, they're coming back. More, not for all of us, but
it's easy picking. It's easy. Yeah,
easier.
it's easy picking.
Yeah.
It's easy picking.
And the other thing that I did kind of want to mention is it is easy picking. I did see something very strange. Like I said, and I'm not sure if you picked this up, but prior to this happening to our family, for the first 10 years of my career, I worked against them, working for a family. Working for a program called Family Preservation, and strangely enough, Family Preservation is funded by the same people that fund Child Protective Services. However, our job is to reunify these families that were pulled apart by Child Protective Services. There are family preservations, I believe, in several areas of our country. But what I noticed along the lines is, I eventually started as like a counselor, and then I eventually became the supervisor of this program. And once a year, twice a year, we were given interns from colleges, from people in like psych programs or social work programs. They were about to graduate. They wanted to just try their hand in this. And they'd come to work for me, and they loved what they were doing, working with families and supporting and empowering them. And then Davis would, waive this, salary package in them that was much better than I could ever provide for them, and all the benefits and such. And they would go over there, and honestly, within 3 months, I would see a transformation in these young ladies that were, really once nice people, and they just seemed much more, much more chiseled and rigid, and perhaps that's what that program, that agency does to you after you work in that line of work for a while. But yes, I noticed a change in every single person that ever left and went over to work for them. And I also know that we have recently in our area found out of several workers that were, they were involved in having, a few have had drug houses that were shut down. These are actual labor workers that were involved in, drug dealing and drug houses, and one who literally just was released from prison, whose wife works in one of these agencies, and he just came on board and started working as a regular Child Protective Services worker. So if anything, don't think because they're working there that they're any better or they're any, these people come from all walks of life. You don't know who you're letting in your house. And many of them will have a story, I can promise you that. And it's not on the up and up. Most of them are not on the up and up.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So I just wanted to provide a little bit of hope out there for people that, don't think they're ever going to get maybe that chance to get their children back. It did happen to us. But we are we've learned so very much from it, and I could do it all again. I would never open my door again. I would got a warrant. I don't even know if I'd open it with a warrant. I might, it's. I'm sure we might be gone before that warrant would show. We've thought about moving out of state several times, but they're relentless, and they're just, and you know what? I like the idea that so many people are out there and they're recording what's happening to them, and they're putting it online, and they're letting us all see what really goes on when their children are being removed, because there's not a lot of rhyme or reason to why the same families are being selected over and over and over again. And you just have to keep your eyes open and be very vigilant in, having anything to do with them. And say very, very, very little. Treat them no different than you would a police officer coming in your house. Treat them worse, if you can, than a police officer, because anything you say is subject to misinterpretation.
You're right. You're right. You're right about that.
So, Bob, that's all I really wanted to say, but I do listen to you often, and I finally had the courage to call in tonight. But I want to thank you for what you do, and people need to have this support, and we actually need to have much more support. It would be nice that people had online groups that they could join, or I don't know, maybe someday there will be more out there for people going through this, because there's nothing. It seems more and more corrupt to me the more I'm around it, and I witness what's really going on out there with these kinds of people, and this, whether they call themselves CPS or DAFIS or TCPAP,
it's all the same. It's all the same. I just developed a name called the Child Protection Systems. That way I include everybody. So it's a system that deals with child protection. So it's abbreviated CPS. So you're right. You can never trust it. For instance, Aaron right now, who's from Tennessee, just said, after termination of my parental rights to my twins, when I had my son, they showed up at the hospital. She had what's called medical trafficking. The CPS works at our hospitals now. And I told them I wasn't speaking to them without an attorney. And they came back the next day with emergency protection order. Now, I don't know if that protection order was a warrant or what. I don't know if Aaron has, seen it with the signature. And I didn't get to be with my son the rest of my hospital stay. Now, I don't know if you're having your baby there, Aaron, or what. And that was 20 months ago. It's over a year ago. And I still haven't gotten him back. She's fighting. Aaron, where you at today, Aaron? You're 20 months ago when your child was taken. And what kind of protection order was that you saw? What kind of protection order? And were the police there present? Now, Margaret Kiss, they are. I have no service to children. I don't know if Margaret King means that she didn't. I don't understand that, Margaret. What do you mean you have no service to children? Corilla says that's so terrible, Aaron. And then Corilla says she lives in Tennessee. Corilla, she lives in Tennessee. They want to terminate your rights. That is not a good sign, Aaron. That's not a good sign. Do you have an attorney or are you using a court appointed attorney? Oh, I think what Margaret's saying, there's no service to children. Well, children in there, they really are not taken care of in foster care. They will be harmed in foster care. And it's sad. It's sad.
Certainly be harmed in foster care. I'm so sorry to tell you that, and it breaks my heart to tell you that.
Yeah, well, I know it's true. I know it's true, Lisa. It really is, because children have been killed. In fact, I have a girl named Faye in Richmond, Kentucky, that keeps a list. She has little gravestones of every child in Kentucky that's been kidnapped and killed in CPS's hands. They call their CPS the Child Protections the Cabinet. Go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead.
Bob, I have to say, you're so right about that. And this is nothing more than trafficking. It really is. Like, I would have never believed it. I really wouldn't have, you just can't imagine that it's really out there. But it is. And the only thing I can say to that is, if this is to happen, I did find out recently. I met one of the most amazing women, and I don't know if there's a change now in just maybe the idea that it's becoming so obvious that these programs, these services are so ingenuine, and I have to think it's because social media is they're videoing when their children are being taken. They're videoing when your first child was taken, but you did there's no allegation on your second child, and then you go into labor and that child is now being taken because your first child had issues. And with all of that being said, I did meet what's called like a resource. If you understand what the resource home is, which I guess is like it's just a little bit above a foster home. And a woman that I met who was running a resource home in my area, she is, doing her job and doing a beautiful job taking these children in, while they're, trying to figure out what's going to happen with their biological or their natural families. But in the process, she's also breaking the rules a little bit and reaching out to the parents and establishing a rapport with the parents and letting them go to sleep at night knowing that their children are okay and in her care, and trying to let them speak to them a couple of times a week so that everybody knows that everybody's okay. In other words, the children can hear their mother's voice and maybe, it provides some relief to the child and vice versa. She doesn't take it much further than that, but she's very much about reunification and doing things the right way, and just kind of spreading that word and trying to get other people on board, to find families that if you're going to foster, doing it for the right reason, not because you're trying to make some money, not because, you're getting, you're getting a paycheck for a child. It's just, it boggles your mind to think that this is what's been reduced to. And in the big picture, how many percent of children that are taken are really at risk or really abused? I think it's less than like 5%. I don't know if you have that number in you, but after I did some research, less than 5% of all the children that come into the system every year, only less than 5% actually came in for significant, like realistic abuse allegations that turned out to be true. So the other 95% were brought in, and their lives were just, turned into chaos for no good enough reason. Really, I mean, that's what it's boiling down to, and that's a nightmare for everyone involved. A set of parents can't go into court and fight them without having two separate attorneys. I mean, that's set up to kind of separate them and get them working against one another. There's no other way around that. Why else would that be? That when you go into that court of law, a mother and father, even if they are together, they have to be represented separately. For what reason?
Yeah.
So it's just, there's a lot of unanswered questions out there that deserve answers, and we don't have them, but we deserve them.
I agree.
So that's really what I called in for. But, thank you so much for giving me the time to talk. And, I'm thinking of every single one of, all of us out there doing this. And I believe there's strength in numbers, and maybe somehow, some way, the tides will turn a little bit with, I did hear, in closing, I do have to tell you, I did hear, at least in our area, we may be, I did hear that now they have to have in other words, so if if somebody from CPS calls a social worker who's working with a child and just wants information, wanting to know how that child is doing, that is not the way it goes anymore. We must have that sign a release of information before we can provide that information to a CPS worker. So with that being said, I heard that. I also heard that they may start having to wear body cameras like police officers do. So maybe there is a small positive change happening out there. I don't know, but that's at least the buzz in my neck of the woods.
Right, right. Well, Lisa, it's I let the show go longer. I'm supposed to end it at 8 o'clock. It's 8:16, so I got to wind down the show. But I want to thank you again for telling me something new from a perspective, from your perspective. And I'm so happy that you got your boy back. I'm so happy
You have
that you
no
got over the
idea.
nightmare.
You have no idea.
And
Thank you
so,
so much.
yeah, I know. I just really, what you bring up is facts that I'll keep with all my other facts and share with other people. And so I want to thank you,
Yep.
Lisa, for calling in and sharing, and God bless you. I want to thank Margaret King from Kern County for telling me where you're at on your case. And her case looks like she's going to get back her child. We have a new person called Courtney Dubree. Um, Set for a phone call, it did not go through. Well, I'm on the phone. That's why, Courtney, I can't talk to you. But please call me tomorrow at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And let me see. Aaron, you're going to have to get a real attorney because you're going to lose on a TPR. You got to make sure you appeal that TPR if they're going to go ahead and do that. They want to terminate Aaron's rights, which is wrong. She wants to have her child back, and it's really wrong what they're doing to her. And Corella, you're doing good out there. I know you were evicted from your home, and your two babies were taken from you last September. Your mom is missing. Your brother illegally did an eviction, your stepbrother, I should say. And it's really sad what Corella is going through. But I want to thank all of you, including Lisa here. Thank you for sharing the story. Thank you for helping me, and you're helping others in this room. All of you, all of you. So do not forget the to
Bob,
Yes,
Bob,
yes, Lisa. Yes, Lisa.
I did want to say that I am going to have to hang up now because it's time for my guy to go to bed. But I did
Yes.
want to ask you
Uh
if
huh.
I'd be able to touch base with you at a later date, just about a few other things. I was
I would love
wondering
to
if
have you on
maybe
my
there's a
show again.
possible
You
way.
can be on my show tomorrow
That'd
morning
be
at 10
wonderful.
or 7 o'clock. You just
I
pick the
would
date and
love.
time. I'm
Sure,
on.
sure. I would love.
Yeah,
I would
I'd
love
love
your
to have you,
access.
Lisa. Okay. All right. Well, good night, Lisa. Thank you
So
again.
I don't know if my number showed up on your caller ID, but if not, are you able to receive text messages?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am, Lisa.
All right, at this number that I called you on, is that right?
Right. Yeah, the 626-698-0990, which I'm
All
taking
right,
down right now.
I will.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Okay.
send you a very quick text message. Okay.
Thank you,
Good
Lisa.
night, and thank you so
Good
much
night.
for having.
Good
Thank
night.
you so much for having me.
All right.
All right.
Night, night.
Good night.
That's a remarkable lady who gave us a really good insight to CPS. I've taken my phone number now because I'm winding down the show. I put up the Doge information. That's at the federal level. If you're unsuccessful at the county level dealing with a supervisor, a manager, or the director, then you take it to the state level and talk to the civil rights coordinator. If you're unsuccessful there, you go to the federal government. You want to go to Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. They have a web page. Take a look at it. It tells you what they're doing. They even offer you a job, a career job. And they have two phone numbers at work. I know I've called them. The area code 202 is the White House. They also have an email that you can send your email of things that are wrong, things that are happening bad wrong. So it's doge at mail.house.gov. So with that being said, that will stay on there because there's a brief video that I'm going to play right now when I end my live stream. So please listen to it. Don't give up. Keep fighting for your children. And God bless you all. And I'll be on again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. This is Bob Pace signing off.
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges, another kid's innocence corrupted. And if you go against it, it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce them. This is Vincent Davis, defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the
last ones left. Put your faith